this is Hannah Williams from Salary Transparent Street. We're in Chicago, Illinois. Let's go ask people what they do and how much they make.
I do travel healthcare for the cath lab and interventional radiology side of things.
Cool. Can you describe what you do in one sentence?
I guess for the cath lab, you're kind of like the third and fourth hands of the doctor during these procedures. So like say someone gets a heart attack, we kind of help out at the table and help go up on the stents and prep the equipment and all that stuff.
How much do you make?
It depends on the contract. Right now, I make around $3,700 a week, and then call pay gets added on and stuff like that. And depending on where you live, you can make anywhere from like $2,000 a week to $5,000 a week. So it just depends on where you're at.
What are some of the pros and cons of your job?
The pros are doing what we do. It's a fulfilling job, and it's kind of like almost like instant gratification in the system of like you can fix someone's heart and then you see the benefits almost immediately. And then the cons are usually taking call or when people die. It's not very nice.
How is your work-life balance?
I think it's pretty good. We take call 6 days a month.
What does taking call mean?
So you carry a pager, and then anytime in the middle of the night or through the day, if it goes off, you got to go in.
Any advice for others interested in your career? What advice would you share with them?
Don't be afraid to do something. If you want to do it in fear, because anything is possible.
I'm a data scientist. I work for a corporate food and beverage company. So if your corporate building has like cafeteria in it, my company in general, like your company will hire my company to do your food service. So I kind of build like predictive models to help different aspects of that food service work better.
How much do you make doing that?
I actually just got a raise last week, so now I make $100,000.
Do you feel fairly compensated?
I do now. I think relative to the market, especially in Chicago, I think it's on the lower end of what is fair for this role.
How did you get the raise?
So it's actually kind of interesting. When I started, they hired 2 data scientists right around the same time, and one of them was making more than me, and I kind of called them out a little bit, and I was like, why is this discrepancy? And they didn't give me a very clear answer, but it's like, this is kind of what we can do right now, but then give us like 6-ish months and we can renegotiate. So that's exactly what I did, and I just had that renegotiation now.
What are the pros and cons of your job, the best and worst parts?
For my company in particular, the thing I love most, I love the people, I love the culture, and I have really great work-life balance. It's definitely a learning curve. I don't have a degree specifically in data science. I kind of like self-taught myself into this role. So it's been a lot of learning and it's been challenging, but I really like it and I'm glad I took the challenge and went for it.
How did you self-teach? Like, did you take a certificate? How did that work for you?
My senior year of college, I kind of realized I had an interest in data science. So I took a few courses, but definitely not like a whole degree path. So I started as a data analyst and I really focused on more of the data science-y components of that job. And then I just got really lucky and a position at my company opened and I reached out to the people and I got lucky and they wanted me to move over.
Any words of advice for anyone interested in also becoming a data scientist? What have you learned that's worked for you?
I would say now start learning ChatGPT, how to integrate it into your workflows. Just knowing how to code won't be enough. You need to know how to code efficiently, and that's going to be the biggest thing moving forward.
I work at and so it's mainly dealing with financial annuities, life insurance. I make $42,000 a year.
You feel fairly compensated?
No.
I'm a union iron worker.
How much do you make?
I make $25.50 an hour.
Do you feel fairly compensated?
Yeah, well, I'm an apprentice right now, so I'm working my way up to the top.
How did y'all get into your roles?
Just kind of people you know. I don't have any degree in finance, just networking.
I don't know how I really got into it. I first started out as a welder, just kind of went down to the hall and applied, and there I am.
What are the best and worst parts of your job?
The best part, definitely being inside, just emailing all day, being able to work from home sometimes. Worst part, dealing with coworkers sometimes, I would say. Kind of the corporate office stuff, but it's not too bad. I like it.
Worst part, probably the heights and dealing with the inclement weather. And the best part is looking back at the job I've done and saying that I built that.
I'm actually a wedding photographer and a hairstylist.
How did you get into this?
All self-taught.
How long have you been doing it total?
8 years.
How much do you make?
Anywhere between 75 and 150.
Do you feel well compensated?
Love it. I'm traveling here and it's the best thing ever.
What pieces of advice do you have for anyone interested in doing what you do?
Own your own company. Go for it. It's hard work. You have to start low for a little bit and not make anything and then work your way up and do it.
I'm a plant manager.
I'm a technical training manager.
If you could describe what you do in one sentence, what would you say?
I oversee all the functions for a food manufacturing site.
I oversee all training at our facility as well.
How much do you make in your role?
It's in a range, so it's performance-based, so anywhere from 175 to 200.
135 to 120.
How did y'all get into your role?
Mechanical engineering, and then I got an MBA as well, so that definitely helped. And then just being ambitious about career and then not being worried about failing. Fail often, fail hard.
I went by experience first, and then I have my AS in business management. management, so experience and education.
What are some of the pros and cons of your job?
I love helping coaching people, so I guess people development's been a really, really big plus for me. Watching people that have worked under me grow to bigger and better careers and positions, definitely awesome.
Yeah, I think the best part is helping to develop others, having them have that aha moment once they start understanding their role and seeing them in their career progressions, really exciting.
Any last words of advice for anyone interested in your industry?
Don't be afraid to say I don't know something. YouTube's great. Even though I went to school, a lot of what I learned was practical on the job and through Google searches. Just be ambitious, be proactive.
I think for me it's find someone to have as a mentor. Mentors really help in our industry, and I've always kept in contact. Networking is really important as well.
I'm a rotational analyst.
If you could describe what you do in one sentence, what would you say?
Whatever my manager asks.
How much do you make?
I make $75,000.
Do you feel fairly compensated?
Oh yeah.
What are some of the pros and cons, best and worst parts of your job?
I would say for now I like how I'm still pretty hybrid with my work, so I'll just dip, go for a run sometimes. I like how it's pretty chill. I never really have to work past 5 unless I want to. Cons, it just gets kind of boring. It's a lot of mundane work, just a lot of reviewing stuff.
What pieces of advice do you have for anyone interested in your career?
I would say just meet people, networking. You can always learn something from someone else.
I work in finance. I'm operations manager.
If you could describe what you do in one sentence, what would you say?
Manage people, pretty much, yeah.
How much do you make?
I make $135,000. How I got the salary is I actually fought for it. I went out into the market and I got a counteroffer from another company and presented it to my company, and they decided I was worth it to stay. But I did it with the intention of not leaving the company.
What tools did you use to find out how much you were worth?
I compared to other companies in the area that were similar roles and realized that I was making less than competitors, and then got messaged on LinkedIn by another company and just said, why not interview and see what happens.
What are some of the pros and cons of your role?
I really like people management. I find a lot of value in helping people grow and passing things that I've learned on to others. Cons is just corporations and
Corporate America.
Yeah, exactly. Corporate America, bureaucracy, just dealing with some of that stuff that we can't control.
Any words of advice for others interested in working in a similar role or in a similar industry? What have you learned?
Advocate for yourself, because corporate America, people will take advantage of you if you don't fight for what you're worth. So know your worth and speak up.
I work in philanthropy.
If you could describe what you do in one sentence, what would you say?
I act as the mediator between people who want to donate and people who want to receive funding in nonprofits.
How much do you make in your role?
56.
Do you feel fairly compensated?
Yes, but I think the nonprofit and social impact and social service industries are not fairly compensated.
What do you think is the solution to that? What's the problem from an insider's perspective?
I think our priorities are misplaced. Do you want to capitalize on it, or do you want to have your children grow up to be educated and not have mental health issues? You gotta pick one.
What are the pros and cons of your job, the best and worst parts?
I love it. I work in something that makes me happy. I work to add a positive impact on the world.
Any words of advice for people interested in your role?
I think start with volunteering, start with reaching out to your local nonprofits and supporting them with whatever they need.
I'm a second grade teacher.
How much do you make?
I think I'm about at 71.
Do you feel well compensated?
Sometimes. I can't complain, but I feel like also teachers are a little bit underpaid.
What are the pros and cons of your job, best and worst parts?
Oh, I absolutely love working with children. I love just giving knowledge. I love when I see that light bulb moment with the kids, they're just so happy to be at school. I love creating a family feel in the classroom. I guess the hard parts would be a lot of standardized testing. I feel like we're pushing kids to do a little bit more than they should be doing.
Any words of advice for anyone interested in also going into teaching?
I think you have to love what you do, otherwise don't go into it. Don't go into it for the money, you have to love what you do.
I'm a self-employed graphic designer.
How long have you been doing it?
5 years.
Did you go to college? How'd you get into it?
Nope, taught myself everything.
How much do you make?
This past year I made $100,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Pros and cons of your job, best and worst parts?
Pros, I get to make my own schedule and work for myself. And then the cons, I would say it's very busy. Clients that are just always emailing you, I feel like you have no time off.